Hey, what is going on before the start of the episode? Once again, new deals, new gentleman pursuits, deals that I've landed for you guys. And this time is once again Guess, but now you can shop their denim at a 30% off discount by clicking the link in bio. 30% off denims and 30% off dresses. And also still get 15% off and free shipping on your first order at Guess. So yes, what are you waiting for? Come on, go refurbish your closet a little bit, refurbish your clothing lineup a little bit, and shop at Guess right now. Link in bio once again. Okay, let's roll the clip. Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Gentleman's Discourse. Hope everyone's doing great, staying hydrated, staying healthy. How are you doing, Josh?
What's up?
How are you doing, man?
What's up?
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Still school, normal
Been
stuff.
a week. Yeah,
Been a week.
midterms coming up. Busy as shit, but same shit.
Oh, when's your midterm?
Next Friday. So like
Oh
next
shit,
week, this time.
same. Same.
Yeah.
I got one on 23rd. So, so today is actually a quite special episode. Today, this one's episode
right.
15. So, it's fucking on point. Today is the first time ever that we have a guest over to talk about something that I believe a lot of people in some way, especially college students, well, because I'm surrounded by them, a lot of people that in some way has experienced it. And today we are going to talk a little bit about eating disorder. And it is my greatest pleasure to have my friend Mia on the podcast with us today. How are you doing, Mia?
Doing good, thank you. How are you?
I am great. It is also 7:30 in the morning right now for you, yeah?
6:30, yeah.
Wow. Rise and grind.
Rise and
grind.
For 6:30. Actually, you're the first lady ever on the Gentleman's Discourse and the
First lady, first guest.
First guest.
We're all about diversity, right?
We're inclusive. We're inclusive. So wait. Before I get into the topic,
right.
Before I get into the topic, there's this one.
We got
segment.
a little tradition.
Yeah, tradition. A little segment before it starts. It's a fun fact of the week, and this I don't know if it's related, but I find it kind of funny. Are you ready? Yeah. If you eat a polar bear liver, you will die because we can't handle that much vitamin A. Weirdly specific fun fact, but I think same goes for a dog livers, I heard. So the more you know.
Wait, really?
Yeah, polar bear and dog livers. Yeah. Something like that. Vitamin A. It's about excessive vitamin A. But for real, I
thought it was gonna be something like toxin or something.
Yeah,
no.
I saw that.
No, it's
because
vitamin
like liver, processes a lot of toxic stuff.
That's true.
Like it's like metabolizes a lot of stuff, and you just eat that, and then you just you die.
But yeah, excessive vitamin A kills you as well. So chill out with the vitamin A.
Don't OD on the vitamin A pills, boys.
Yeah. From an FNH major, bro. Okay, hear me out.
Yeah, hear me out.
So no, for real.
On vitamin A.
For real. Before I get into the episode, I hope people who are currently listening to this to be respectful of our conversation today. And if you want to educate yourself more on eating disorder, I will put a link to a really informative TED Talk in the description, like a really nice introductory to what this really is below, and along with some foundations that are dedicated towards people suffering from eating disorder, and in some way educate yourself, even if you don't donate, learn yourself a few facts so you would know, I don't know, in general, just be less ignorant about towards a problem.
It just helps to know more.
Yeah.
Helps to know more.
So, because we're talking about eating disorders today is only appropriate for me. I'm so sorry to go on and on forever before letting you talk. So just a little background information for people listening. So eating disorder, there are three main types of eating disorder, and the first one's anorexia nervosa, a form of self-starvation; bulimia, in which individual engage in repetitive cycles of binge eating, alternating with self-induced vomiting or starvation. Then we have binge eating disorder, which is same as bulimia without the vomiting and or self-starvation after. And the first question that I want to start off with, as in like, Mia, why don't you tell us a little bit about, your journey, like when did you find out, and some of your most, I'd say, memorable experience, or, just in general, any event that is the most heartfelt to you?
Yeah, I've been suffering for about 3 years now, but with anorexia, but I got diagnosed 2 years ago. So it was like a year before that where I didn't really know what was going on. I feel like in that time, I thought maybe I was sort of the same as everyone else. I felt like a lot of my friends, they like, everyone has issues with food, I guess, or some sort of like thing with their body. But for me, I think when I was looking around me and I saw that some things that I was doing, my friends weren't doing, I thought, okay, maybe I have a problem. Like, I guess sort of the thing that triggered it for me that I think is I'd left school, so I was starting like post-secondary education, and that was really, really stressful for me because sort of like you've got pressures from school and then family as well. Everyone's sort of got a saying what they want you to do, and so like that didn't help because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then this is not like the case for everyone, but in my case, there was a particular family member that I was really close to that began to like comment on my body, and like someone that had never really thought about that before, to then have someone out of the blue just one day start commenting on the way you look and what you're eating, it sort of triggered something in my mind, I guess, that made me feel like, oh, maybe I should lose weight.
Oh, damn.
So the comment was about your weight, or is it about something else?
About my weight. So it was things like, you like put a bit of weight on, or it would be things, once I started losing the weight, it was, oh, you look thinner. So I think that kind of like triggered it even more, because I saw the response I was getting was positive from me losing weight, and that fueled the eating disorder even more.
So just to get things clear, did you start a weight loss process, or like was it just like a normal observation for your family members?
So once like the comments had been made and I had sort of decided that, okay, I'm going to do something about it, I just started cutting like things out my diet first. Right. So it was gradual. I don't think many people really as such noticed until it was like I was losing a lot of weight. Then people were like, okay, there is something wrong here.
Okay, so one thing, obviously, I've never actually been diagnosed or I've not gone through anything too serious, but I myself, I think in a couple episodes ago, Josh and I talked about, or I at least mentioned that I suffered from body dysmorphia. Josh, do you remember? Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you were going to the gym excessively.
Yeah. So slight body dysmorphia. If I don't go to the gym, I feel like shit. So my the action that I do to keep myself so-called quote unquote in check is to go to the gym as often as I can, 5 days a week. I'll take like an hour and a half workouts, right? So that is the action that kept my mind in check. So what is that one action during that period that you be like, I have to constantly keep doing that to make myself feel better?
For me, it was weighing myself. So when I was like really like deep in my anorexia, I was weighing myself like 10 times a day. It was like constantly. I'd wake up, weigh myself, then I'd drink something, or I'd eat like something. And of course, it's like the average person, you know, if like you eat or drink something, like your weight fluctuates throughout the day.
Yeah.
But in
Water
my
weight
head,
and stuff.
yeah. But in my head, that was completely like skewed. It was, oh my God, you've gained like 0 point something pounds. You need to, you know, it would just fuel it even more. But I was like obsessed with weighing myself, and that's like the one thing that I focus on. Like that number on the scale was everything to me. That's like all that mattered to me.
Damn. Okay. So
was it like a fixation that you sort of have to, like, let's say, because I have like I don't know if I got this wrong, but you sort of like started a weight loss process and then it sort of evolved into like anorexic behavior. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
because I have a similar experience with the weight loss as well. While I was a lot younger, I was actually quite fat. Like I was really chubby. I was like weighing a lot for my size. And like when I went into high school and I saw everyone around me was like, everyone was thin, and I had man boobs, and you know, and we would go like to swimming lessons, and then I'd see everyone is like, because Asians, they're not really like super, how to say, it's usually like it's a norm to be quite thin or quite lean on the leaner side. And I felt really self-conscious about it. So I lost, I think, a lot of weight in just the span of like one semester. And I was basically skipping lunch. Like I would starve myself and exercise a lot. I would like sweat a lot and just starve myself, and I would just let myself only eat like 1 or 2 times a day. But I also have something like that, but I think the difference here I spot is that I didn't actually like weigh myself. So do you think that like the number in this sense sort of drove you into like being more conscious about it, like having that number pop up all the time?
Yeah, I definitely think it is, because when I actually went into treatment, the first thing they said was, you need to get rid of the scale. And I felt that kind of like alleviated some of the stress when I wasn't allowed to weigh myself. So yeah, I think, it does have like a big impact on how much it fuels sort of what you're doing.
Okay,
well, so was your original,
I was just gonna ask, because for myself, I was, you know, as I said, I have to constantly go to gym to feel good, and for you is to weigh yourself. Is there like a number that you are looking to hit, like figuratively speaking? If you see this number, you'd be like, okay, I'm good for a day. Like this is like good, or is it just like doing it for
you want to get lower?
Yeah. There's like infinite limit to it.
Yeah.
Well, like in my head, I had a weight I wanted to hit, but I sort of knew deep down that once I got to that weight, it wasn't going to be enough. And that's what I got told, like in treatment, no matter what weight you are, it will never be good enough for your eating disorder. Because like ultimately it wants to kill you. Like that is its end goal.
Yeah, you so, just like, want to get lighter and lighter.
Yeah.
Were you going to ask something just now, Josh?
I was like gonna ask, like, I think you basically asked my question, because I think one more thing, like, because I just want to ask that, like, that initial sort of like the weight loss journey, like how did it begin? Like what triggered it? Because for example, in my case, it was like when I went into this environment where everyone, well, the boys around me my age are like all lean, and I'm the only one that's fat, and that sort of made me really hyper self-conscious about my weight. Did like something like that happen with you, or it was like something else?
Well, like obviously the comments from my family, that they didn't help, but when I transferred to my like post-secondary education, I was studying dance, and like it was 6 hours a day in front of a mirror, basically being told like what you're doing wrong, what you need to fix. And a lot of the girls in there were very, very thin. They came from like a ballet based background, so they were initially a lot thinner than me. So and I saw them as well, like they would get you know, maybe some of them would get more credit for like what they've done or certain things like that. And I saw that as like, oh, they're thinner, maybe that's why they're doing better than me. So it was not only comparing like my own like dance ability, but then like physically, and obviously like in dance as well, like you have to, for certain dance styles you have to be a certain weight, especially for ballet, and that did not help at all.
So it was like a common aesthetic like standard sort of.
So is because I have a friend, she has been, you know, in the ballet scene for like all her childhood, and she said she didn't mention anything about, like, she didn't actually get into the weight issue, but just from her comment about how toxic people can be in the ballet community. Is it same goes to every, like, from your experience, the dancing community, is it really a thing that people would to a certain point discriminate you if you are not as slim or as thin as them?
I think definitely, like, well, yeah, definitely. Especially like say in ballet, some teachers, thankfully I've never experienced that from a teacher, but some of my friends, they've had like ballet teachers that have been like, right, okay, you need to lose weight for this part, or you need, you know, this move isn't looking great, and it's because, you know, you weigh this much or things like that. So there is a conscious effort to look a certain way.
Damn.
Do you think it's do you know any other people like who are going through the same thing, or did you feel like you're sort of like the only one who had to lose weight while you were at the school thing?
I didn't know anyone else that was going through it at all, so it was just me on my own. Whether people were and they didn't want to say anything, because it is something that quite a lot of people don't want to speak about. You kind of just, especially in dance, you just, you know, it's something you've got to do. You've got to lose weight, so, you know, people will go about it in an unhealthy way to get to where they need to be. And I think sometimes it can be passed as being okay because, you know, it's for like a greater good in a sense, because, you know, if you weigh this much, then, you know, you'll get the part, or, you know, you'll look better than this person. So I think people might have been going through it, but I didn't know of anyone that was at the time. So
would you say like it was sort of like a competition thing going on?
Oh yeah.
Was there like
definitely.
that atmosphere?
Yeah, definitely.
I got a question, just trying to link back to a few also stuff we said a few episodes ago about social media and how, you know, we compare ourselves with different people, you know, wealthy people, you know, influencers. Do you think, in your opinion, but obviously we all know that the current industry, whatever industry, they are creating something like an unreal beauty standard for everyone, and thus creating anxiety, and more and more people are getting into different issues, right? But one really specific thing I want to ask is, I myself, let's say last year, I was in, you know, a really unhappy state, I'd say, right? And I myself had followed all these, you know, different meme accounts that kind of, you know, talk about or make fun of having like depression or anxiety. But I followed them not because I hate them, but because, oh, they're making fun of it. Now I feel like it's not that big of a deal. So do you follow these accounts? And if yes, do you think it actually helps you face it better, or in the sense that it actually is, you know, making people suppress it more?
I am guilty of that. Yeah, I do the exact same thing.
I myself find it super fucking funny.
I think it's a common theme for our generation.
To like
make fun out of our things that we go through, you know, make fun of, oh, I want to kill myself, I have depression, you know, those stuff. I think it's like a coping mechanism for,
Yeah,
I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like it's like a general theme, you know, we all joke around saying like, oh, hey, I got depression. But then, you know, as you sort of participate in that, it's like a chant thing, right? The more you participate in, you sort of feel a bit better because, you know, there's people around you going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So in that sense, social media,
Yeah.
in that particular atmosphere, it actually helped you, would you say?
For the most part, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sort of, oh well, everyone else is going through it, so I don't feel as alone. But I feel like there can be some like negative side of it, especially those that there's a lot of on Instagram as well. There's a lot of like recovery accounts, the people that are posting maybe what they're eating, like on a meal plan or something, to like recover from their eating disorder. That is good, but I feel like there can be some form of like competition in that as to, you know, who was the thinnest, or it also can be triggering, because if someone say is a lot of like in that sort of community, they have a lot of terms like a safe food, to something that you're not comfortable with eating, something that your eating disorder like makes it quite hard for you to eat. I feel like in that sense, if you're eating something and you're okay with it, and then you see someone else like not being okay with eating that can make you feel really, really bad, and your eating disorder kind of plays on that, because it's like, oh, you shouldn't eat that, then they're not eating it, and you need to be thinner than them. You shouldn't eat that, you need to be like them. So it's good because it's sort of like there's a community, but also there can be a competition in that as well.
So the competition within the community, was it trying to get better, or they were just trying to be thinner? Like what was their
like
thing?
one upping each other, yeah, in the sense of, you know, we're trying to portray that we're getting better, but actually, you know, I went to a patient like 3 times, oh, I did this, I did that, and it is like your eating disorder is so competitive, like it is so manipulative.
Competitive.
And it's horrible.
That's the same as people, you know,
lifting,
how
right?
much money, something like that, right? Yeah, they lift.
Yeah, like,
I can
bench 3.
Yeah, I can bench 1,000 pounds, but they broke their pecs and shit like that. They're actually hurting behind.
How much can you bench, bro?
Not a lot, man. But
I can't bench for shit.
Social media aside, because we can all agree that while social media is it's a blessing in a way, but most of the time it's destroying us. It's actually detrimental to how we view ourselves, and creating, you know, unhealthy environment for us to always compare ourselves with different people. But the another thing I want to ask is, let's say when you first began having it, how, and you said that you don't know anyone that has it, right? So how did you go about helping yourself, like on that thing? Like, because if did you like talk to your parents? Did you talk to your family members? Did you talk to your friends? Like, how did you first reacted to that?
At first, I didn't want to tell like anybody, and also your eating disorder is very much like it is like sneaky, it'll trick you, so it'll be, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. So in my head, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I mentioned a few times to my mum that I felt a bit like funny, like around food, and I was avoiding certain things. But I think in my mum's eyes, she didn't want it to be an eating disorder. She didn't want to even think about that. So I think in the beginning, she kind of just brushed it off as it not as being as bad as what it actually was. And then once I started losing weight, people around me actually came to me and were like, okay, are you okay? And as much as I didn't want to ask for help, because asking for help is so hard when you have an eating disorder, because your eating disorder doesn't want you to get help. It wants you to carry on, you know. So again, a lot of things was, oh, I'm not ill enough, like I'm not thin enough to get help. There's nothing really wrong with me. But yeah, it was my family that came to me and were like, okay, there's definitely something wrong here.
Right.
Okay. Josh, do you have anything to ask? I have a few questions, but I don't want to keep going on if you have something to ask.
No, I'm just like a bit taken back by the whole thing. Yeah, I'm trying to process it. Because it feels like to me it feels like that the whole thing, it's sort of like, I don't know. I kind of understand what you're going through, because yeah, you know what, Ryan, just continue. Yeah. I'll say more when I have actually something to ask.
Yeah, it's cool. So another thing is, just to pile on to things that you just said just now, Mia, is that when I first, not eating disorder, but when I first got like slight depression, I don't want to go to anyone for help, because as you said, I don't think I'm like that bad. I don't think it's that bad, right? I can deal with it myself. I can deal with it on my own. Or a certain part of me is like, I do not want that, like, want this to actually be true. I do not want to actually have depression, but like, I'm just sad, but not depression. Right? So another thing is, once again, Josh and I talked about this before, is how we cope with mental stress, but we only talked about dealing with stress here, and we talked about, is it better to talk to a friend? Is it better to deal with it on your own? Because the more you listen to, the more confused you are, or they're like therapy groups.
There's a lot of noise.
Yeah,
basically.
So or should you like go to therapy groups where people are going through same thing, so you're like in it together? So from your experience, whatever related therapy or treatment you've gone through, or methods, right, you yourself experimented with to alleviate some of the stress, do you like, what is it like going through treatment or therapy, and do you think they're effective?
Wow. I came out of treatment the beginning of this year, so I was in treatment for around like a year and a bit. And when I initially went in, the first sort of like task they had was getting me back to a healthy weight. So it was very much food based. So they gave me a meal plan, and I'd go every week, I'd be weighed, and we'd sort of discuss what I'd eaten, and they focused a lot on food. Where I feel like my problem lies with that is for people that also suffer with eating disorders that aren't underweight, because a lot of people that have eating disorders, especially anorexia, aren't underweight themselves. There's only like a small percentage that actually are underweight. Where my problem lies with that is, once I got back to a healthy weight, they didn't bother tackling why I had actually started with my eating disorder, or, the things that were going through my head. I was just discharged. And this is why now, like, I'm waiting for therapy again, because I ended up relapsing, because the actual issue hadn't been tackled. It was just, we'll get you back to where you need to be weight-wise, and then hopefully everything will fix itself. When actually, like, to some extent they say that, the more you eat, the easier it gets. And that is, sort of correct. It's like public speaking. The more you do it, like, the easier it gets. But for someone that has been dealing with that voice in your head for like nearly 3 years, to just change it without actually any help and any sort of focus on that, it didn't do anything. So I got back to my healthy weight, I got discharged, the actual problem hadn't been solved, so I just went back to square one again. So I don't really think, with the way that most places like treat eating disorders, I don't think it's that effective. And a lot of people that I've like seen that have gone through treatment end up relapsing pretty much straight after, because they haven't had the actual issue tackled.
Damn.
So they basically just end up putting like it's like sort of quantifying your disorder as hitting a weight goal, like that, right?
Yeah, which is kind of ironic, because that was what you were doing in the first place. Like, you were trying to lose weight, and that's
so now you just sort of want to flip it, like you want to gain weight instead.
Exactly.
That's fucked, man.
Well, what was like the biggest mental hurdle for you when like, because obviously, because I think everyone has gone through, like I've personally myself, I've gone through like depressive periods, and you know, I sort of gave myself these like, you know, self-medication. You sort of give yourself something to latch onto. For example, for me, it was if I get out of bed today, I'm gonna be happy. Like I sort of just kept telling myself that. So was there like something to grab onto while you were giving that diet, or well, like what thoughts were going through your head while you are under treatment? Like did you tell yourself that, oh, if I follow this meal plan, I'm gonna get better? And did it help?
In the beginning, I was like, when I can remember it so well. I was in my assessment. They like, when they give you that diagnosis, they assess you first, and I like, they said, you know, we're giving you the diagnosis of anorexia, and I remember just like bursting into tears, and I think that was sort of like Mia coming through a little bit and being like, oh, there is something wrong. So in the beginning of treatment, I was really compliant. Like I listened to everything that they said, because they said to me, you know, you're underweight, you're not allowed to dance anymore. So they were like, if you eat and if you stick to this plan, you can dance again. So for me, in the beginning, my sort of something to grasp onto was the fact that I could dance. Once I got to, because they put me like at a certain weight and they said I could dance, but then I'd still have to keep gaining after that. Once I got to the weight I needed to be at to be able to dance again, everything that I'd sort of been working towards, it was like, it was gone. I had nothing to motivate myself. So that's when I started flicking back into old habits, because I thought, oh, I can dance again now, and I can keep the eating disorder. Like, it's best of both worlds. So that's where things started like flipping back again.
So it's like relapse.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened afterwards? Like what changed? Because obviously, now that you're, you got over it. Like, what was the change, like happened that occurred?
I think one day you just wake up and think, I can't. It is sort of like, as much as everyone can help you, you have to help yourself. And it's so hard. And I used to hate people telling that to me, like people being like, oh, you know, Mia, you have to help yourself. And I'd be like, oh, just,
you don't care about
don't
me.
say
like,
that to me. I don't
like
care. Yeah. And I remember I think just one day you wake up and you just think, I can't keep doing this to myself. And how physically ill I felt as well, and the physical side effects were just getting too much for me to handle. And I thought, okay, you know, even if it's just me trying a little bit to change, I've got to at least make a start in trying to change, because I can't keep carrying on like this.
Right. Yeah, I think we talked about it in our episode as well, where we mentioned that, you know, I think both me and Ryan, when we actually went through like our like the hurdles that we went through, in the end I think it was the same thing as what you felt. You know, just one day you just wake up and you feel like, damn, it's like, it's really just me. Like, you gotta do something in order to manifest that change or fix whatever 100%. Problems you have now. Like, you could have therapy, you could have parents, you could have friends, but in the end, you know, you have to be the one to sort of get over with it.
That is so true. So
that's very true.
What is something that you wish would that you wish you could improve in the psychiatric system nowadays?
That's a really interesting question.
Wow.
I mean, I guess the more like easier way for you to like, for us to discuss about is like, what could like the therapist have done in your case that would have, you know, probably
that's actually
made your
what
life a lot more easier.
I'm so sorry. Yo, what would you
host? Oopsie.
Hey, shut your dumb ass up.
Just kidding.
Okay, yeah. What would you wish the therapist would have done?
Yeah. Not, I can only speak for eating disorders. I can't speak for, you know,
we were
other
like asking about
illnesses. But
Mhm.
I think the focus that is put on weight is just, it is too much. They've changed it now in the, I think it's like the DSM or something, the psychiatric book where like all the diagnoses are put in. Originally it was you had to be under a certain BMI to be diagnosed, and they have changed that now where they're saying that weight doesn't really matter. But I feel like some therapists still focus a lot on weight, and it's not helpful at all. Like, it is a mental illness, and it just so happens to have physical side effects. And one thing that I wish wasn't focused on was, as much as, you know, I needed to gain weight, I didn't want to sit there for like an hour every week and just discuss what my weight was. I needed to be discussing why I had these thoughts about myself, and, you know, the way I felt about myself, in order to tackle, you know, those, you know, the actual reason as to why I was doing what I was doing. So if I could have been spoken to more about me as a person, as opposed to me, Mia, as, you know,
as a patient,
a number, and as a number, like that would have helped a lot.
So
while you were going through that, did you feel like so obviously we're trying to get into like the actual reason why like there's eating disorder. Like, for you as someone who has experienced it, would you say that there's like a fear of food, or was there like a fear of something going into it? Did something like that happen?
I think not necessarily a fear of food, because what I loved food. Like, it was something that I obsessed over, like you say, to the point where I was doing everything I could to be around food. I took up baking in my eating disorder, and I only got told sort of like when I went for my assessment that, you know, she said, had you been like excessively baking and like cooking before your eating disorder? And I said, no, it's something that I've only just taken up within the past few months. And she was like, that is your eating disorder trying to get you close to food without you actually consuming food. And like supermarkets, like going food shopping, I would get excited that I was able to go and help buy food, because I could just be surrounded by food without actually eating it. So there is an obsession there, but I think it's the fear of the number on the scales. It is the fear of gaining weight. That's what it was for me. It was, I did not want that number to be going up. It had to be going down.
Right.
Okay. So would you sometimes be? I feel like I would do that too. Like, sometimes overcompensating. Let's say you don't want your weight to go up, so you dance twice as hard, and sometimes leading to, I don't know, extreme fatigue or something like that. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, lots of times. Yeah, I've passed out a lot because of that, and that was like a major thing for me. It was after everything I'd eaten, I had to exercise. It was like an immediate thing. Like, most people, like, they eat, that's it. They've eaten, that's it. They go about their day. Me, it was an immediate response. Like, it was something in my head. As soon as I'd finished eating, it was like, right, you have to go exercise now.
Damn. Okay. So
are you still dancing right now, or did you stop dancing at all?
I'm slowly getting back into it. It's something that I was obsessively doing it, and I was, you know, it was a major part of my life. It's something that's slowly coming back in again, but I don't want to go back into it for the wrong reasons, and that's what I'm trying to be like cautious about.
One thing I want to say,
perception about,
she's a great dancer. Sorry, you were asking.
No, I was just like, because obviously it's gonna be like, because obviously dancing was like, I don't want to say like I don't want to be like the analytical guy and be like, oh, dancing was one of the reasons why, you got the disorder in the first place, but it was sort of like a part of the whole journey, right?
Yeah.
So now that you're going back in, how did your perception of dance, like, did anything change, or are you actively trying to, like, because you said you want to try to perceive it differently, like what kind of changes are you incorporating for you to sort of slowly re-involve dancing back into your life that was different from before? Like, did you pick out the unhealthy parts of it, or did you like isolate some of the good parts? Like, I'm only going to focus on the dance rather than hitting all the like, I don't know, aesthetic weight goals, something like that? Or was there like some change?
Going back into it, I had to, like I say, be careful and just remind myself that,
Right.
you know, this thing and the obsession with weight and the way you look, it's always going to be there, and I can't change that. And if I want to go back and do what I enjoy doing, I have to be aware of that. So it was sort of like just checking in on myself, basically. So, you know, if someone has made a comment, or a teacher's made a comment, maybe not even to me, to somebody else, or you know, I see someone has lost a lot of weight because of a certain dance role or things like that, I have to check in with myself and be like, right, okay, is this gonna affect me? If it is, I need to take a step back, start, you know, reevaluating. Is this, you know, fueling anything, or, you know, can I carry on? And also me, you know, if I don't feel like going to dance or things like that, and I, you know, I force myself, am I forcing myself because, you know, ultimately it's going to help me and it's going to help me do what I love to do, or am I forcing myself because I want to exercise? So there's a lot of things. It's not necessarily changing the way that I or changing sort of the actual industry. That's never going to change. It's me checking in on myself and making sure that why I'm dancing, you know, it is for the right reasons.
Yeah. I think like your intentions going in, like that, you have to sort of monitor how you feel and how you perceive like comments about people, like things.
100%.
100%. Right. Because I think that's quite important when you are like dealing with something. For example, because obviously things, they have like a trigger, right? And I feel like you sort of, to like, you don't want to sort of give up on like the things you did just because that thing sort of was part of a negative experience. But I think it's really important that afterwards you sort of kind of change the view on how you perceive it, and, you know, you can have that thing come back to your life in a positive light, you know, sort of like revamp it, renovate it into something that's good for you and healthy. Yeah, I think that's actually really a really good piece of advice.
I was gonna say something about my experience with, at least not my experience, but my from my friends, the experience with the psychiatric system in BC, because as you said, how some therapists, even it may not be their intention, but because the system is so like under-resourced, not well sourced, and maybe they are just, you know, tired, I don't know, and they don't treat patients as like human. They treat them as a number. It's like, oh, you're here, okay, what do you have right now? So even though on campus, in UBC campus, a lot of people are talking about, hey, if you're going through something, please talk to someone, please talk to a counselor, a therapist, whatever. But I just feel like there's not enough money put into it to actually help all these people that are seeking help. They're just doing all these for, you know, telling you, oh yeah, we're here to listen. But when you actually go to tell them stuff, they're like, it's not, you have to wait like 2 months for us to actually sit down with you for the first time. And I guarantee you the first few times you actually sit down with them, you're not going to get anything out of it. Right. At least
do you really think money is the issue? Because I don't think it's money. I don't feel like it's money. I feel like it's the people who work in that industry. They sort of have I don't know.
Not enough money to hire enough people, or, you know, so people would be interested.
There aren't like the education, or I don't know, the way the psychiatric field is shaped around. I personally, because I'm quite familiar with these stuff, because my
Okay.
mother, she's a she deals with the, like, she worked and she studied, and I sort of did a lot of research in this, because I feel like that, I think the current state of the psychiatric field, they sort of emphasis more on diagnosis and putting you into categories of different, like, disorders, diseases, and,
Mm.
like, they sort of label you as, you know, patient, rather than trying to understand what's actually going on.
Well,
Like,
I
I
feel
don't
like
know if you
it's
understand what I'm
because
saying.
I understand
It's
it's
like
because
that's like a culture thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's because, yeah, part of it I feel like it's because the people, but part of it's because it's like doctors that work in you know, a public hospital, is that they don't get paid enough
Yeah.
to actually sit down and deal with your shit.
Yeah, but the thing is
That's
with doctors, you know, if you have a cold, it's actually a cold. It's usually 80% a cold. Just get some cough syrup or something, and you're
so
done.
yeah, so
But
it's
with mental health issues, it's much more delicate and much more complicated. It's not like, oh, this is depression,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
eating disorder. You know,
So I feel like you would need way more time to actually understand a patient. And if
right?
there's not enough resource to put into it, like what will
You
actually
mean like pay
motivate?
incentives, right?
Yeah, it's like even though you're the nicest person on earth, you know, your motivation runs out and you need, you know, certain incentives to keep you running, right? To keep you going.
Right.
Because in a certain sense, even though you got yourself into this field, in a certain sense, you yourself as a human being as well, it's really tough for you to always be the one that have people, you know, talk to you, always be a good listener, right? So if there's
Hmm.
not enough resource, not enough financial incentive, then some of these therapists or doctors, they'll be like, whatever, come in. Yeah, I'll diagnose you. Just get out of my sight, which is a really bad
Nine
culture.
to five. I need to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah. So I feel like that is really what is going on right now, even though they encourage you to talk to someone,
Right.
but
Right.
the
The
cold
people you
hard
talk
truth.
to don't really care about
Yeah,
you.
right. The fuck? I don't. Literally
What do you
on
think,
campus.
Mia? Do you think it's money, or do you think it's something else?
I think part of it is money, but like you say, you know, it is a 9 to 5 job, and
Right.
I
Right.
think sometimes people view therapists and stuff as these people that you want to view them as your own like individual like person that listens to you, and it's only about
Uh huh.
you, but it's not.
Uh
They've
huh.
probably got like 20, 30 other people they're seeing that
Hundreds of
day, and
patients.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're just a number, and to them, just like
Right.
someone working in an office, it is a 9 to 5 job. That is just what they do. They just happen to deal with people, and to you it might mean a lot, but I think to them, like you say, it's just a job. It's just their way of sort of getting by.
Would you agree that you sort of have to recognize and realize the limitations of these like therapy or even psychiatrists? Like, there is a limit on
Hmm.
how they can help you. Like we discussed, at the end of the day, it's probably like a 9 to 5 thing. Like, let's say
Hmm.
you have a really, really nice therapist who's super passionate about his patients, and he actually wants to know you. You have a really great time, but, like, he's not gonna be by your side 247, right?
No.
You're still gonna be on your own. You can still
Hmm.
be with your friends and family. So so rather than focusing on like therapy and stuff, do you think that there's like other sources that might help? For example, like we discussed before, there's like support groups, or finding just someone, your friends, to share. Do you think that would help, or did that actually help you in your own journey? Like, people outside of like the faculty or like the institution.
The people outside of it, that's what makes a difference. You see your therapist once or twice a week for an hour,
Uh-huh,
if
uh-huh.
that. The time you spend away is much greater. So finding, like
Right.
say, a support group or people that you feel comfortable speaking to, not even people that get it, because I think unless you've been through it, you're never going to truly
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
understand what it's actually like. But to have people
Right.
maybe not even give advice, but to just sit and listen, and you know that you're in a safe space to be able to talk about how you're feeling. That is worth so much more than, you know, going to see a therapist who, you know, like I said, you're just a number and they're dealing with like 30 other people that day.
Do you have any advice on how to approach these groups or how to find it in your like closest circle? Because, you know, for example, myself, I was really fortunate because I had a good a group of close friends that gave me this really safe environment. You know, you can, you know, open up, you can talk about things, but I feel like not a lot of people that might need that have that environment. Did you have that friend group initially, or did you go out and found it afterwards? Like, what was the case?
I was lucky enough to have a really supportive friend group, but I know that that isn't the case for everybody.
Right.
So
yes.
I feel like the best way you can approach it is, you know, if you feel like you can't speak to your friends because, you know, they're not going to get it, then another thing that, like we were talking about social media, those sort of like communities that are recovering from, you know, it doesn't even have to be an eating disorder or whatever, you know, and mental health advocates, there's a lot of people that you can find in that community that are willing to speak because they're going through the same thing. So sort of searching through that sort of area, I feel there can be a lot of like support found there as well if you feel like you can't speak to your friends or family.
So like social media is like a good like resource if you look for the right type of like groups, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I see.
I literally,
Ryan, you got anything to ask?
Yeah, I got something to say because like literally piling on the Instagram, I mean the social media thing a few months back, when I was like living alone in the middle of nowhere with the raccoons, right? I have no one to talk to a point where I literally found groups on Instagram where it's like positive groups for people that are, you know, need motivation. I literally joined those. That was like before I was like, this is the cringiest thing ever. Who the fuck is gonna join these things? And I ended up being one of those. And then that was like, I didn't interact much with with people in the group, but some people like every morning they were like, hey, good morning to you all. Hope you're having a great day. Remember, you are something like that. Even though I was like, oh, okay, chill.
Oh, like you are precious. You are loved.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Like,
you are important.
Remember, be grateful. And I'm so happy that you're still here. And I was like, okay. like in the end, I quit the group, but still, like I had my fair, you know, the experience I had with this, like, even though I find it cringy in the first place, I feel like indirectly kind of helped. Right.
Yeah.
I got one last question. I don't have any more questions, to be honest. I've learned so much already. So for your friends, or for at least for my friends, some of my shitty friends, I'm not calling them out, but I got shitty friends. Whenever I try to open up to them, they don't, you know, they don't know how to like, not only do they not know how to react, they immediately talk about something else and try to avert that topic. So
deflection,
right? That should hurt, man, when you open up to them and they deflect. Yeah. And let's say the audience is suspecting that, or has a friend that is going through this. What advice would you give them if they feel, you know, awkward or comfortable when their friends are opening up? Like what kind of advice would you give them?
Find new friends.
Yeah.
Damn.
No.
Hey, yo, you got depression, bro? Hey, no, I can't talk to you, man. Yo, I gotta leave.
But yeah, don't let me stop you, Mia. Continue. I was just joking.
No, that's right though. No, I think for both sides, you have to be prepared that it's gonna be uncomfortable, because it's not like a normal conversation you have. And I feel like a lot of people, like you say, and like nowadays, it's funny to joke about, you know, how you're feeling. So to actually have that serious conversation, it is hard. On the side of people that, you know, that aren't dealing with it and that are like listening, it is just important to just listen. And even if you don't get it, I think a lot of like people's initial reaction is to go, I don't get it, it's not my problem, like let's talk about something else, you know, and like you say, deflect from what is actually going on. I feel it is hard because everyone is different, and there are some people that just aren't going to get it. But knowing that, you know, that you have someone there that, like I say, just to listen to you, that's like it. That's half the battle itself, because there's so many thoughts going up in your head when you're dealing with this, and to be able to have like a safe place to let it out, that alleviates a lot of pressure. But you have to be brave enough to be able to do that, and it is so hard. It's not an easy thing to do, like by any means. And you know, right. I used to hate when people were like, oh no, just speak to people, like it's okay. It's uncomfortable, but you have to do it. Yeah, if you want to get help, that is something that you have to push yourself through. You know, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's the only way things are going to change.
Well, going off what you just said, like, did you personally face any troubles when you're trying to open up, or was it like rather smooth, like transition for you to sort of talk to people, or did you have to go through a lot of like obstacles?
Thankfully for me, my close friends, they were really understanding. But it got nice. There was a few people where, you know, when word gets out that, you know, people, you know, and people knew that I was going through certain things. There was people that I knew that, you know, I was like, just, you know, I wasn't close with, but I was friends with.
Acquaintances.
Yeah. You know, there'd be some ignorant comments made that, like, okay, so you just, you know, it's not that bad because you don't look ill. You don't look thin.
Oh my
and
God.
I don't think it was meant in a horrible way, but it was an ignorant comment to make because you're commenting on the one thing that, like, I'm struggling with. And I think it was, I think that comment is made to make, you know, they want to try and make you feel better because, oh, you know, you don't look ill, like it's okay. But actually,
I think their intentions were like, I don't know, nice.
The intentions were good.
Yeah.
But it makes,
but the outcome was really bad.
Yeah, that's one thing that really a lot of people say that they hate hearing from people is you look healthy, or, you know, you look fine.
You don't look that bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bad, and it can trigger you so much.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to be told you look bad, but you'd rather just someone not comment on your appearance full stop.
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't even know how to respond to that, right?
Oh, no, not at all. You don't like
how do you respond to that? Like, no, I'm actually not, but like, you know, they're trying to help, but you know, they're not. Perhaps they don't really know how to help, or because you know, like you said, they haven't gone through it, and it's hard for them to understand.
Yeah, that's why it is just easy to just, you know, I'm here and you can speak to me. That is what helped me, just having someone there to be able to speak to, and knowing that it was okay to speak to them.
Yes, that is the most important. I totally agree with you on that.
Because like on the subject of like, because obviously I think, you know, the courage to take that first step is like quite important, because you know, I always have this like this idea that by the time you take your first step, like the moment you sort of step out and look for help, I think it's sort of like a sign that you are ready to sort of progress. Because a lot of the time, or at least with myself, I saw that even though I was the influx of like those like motivational content on YouTube or Instagram. You sort of have these, you sort of know what you do, right? There are a lot of these like comments like, yo, you gotta just get out of bed, do something, you're gonna find motivation. Like there's a lot of information available already on how you should approach these sort of like sticky situations. But I think what matters the most is that initial step that you take, where you yourself sort of be like, hey, I'm like we discussed earlier, you sort of wake up one day and realize that, hey, there's something's wrong with me and I want to fix it. And I think that initial boost, if anyone's listening and you're in this process where you took that initial step and you feel like you're getting nowhere, I think that initial step is actually a good sign that you're getting better, because you took that leap of faith to try and fix whatever, or you took that leap of faith, try to talk to someone or go to a therapist. And I think that is like a really good indication for where things will get better. Like, would you say that's like a good indication for you in your journey? Like that the moment you woke up and realized that, hey, I need to do something, like did everything sort of get better onwards, or did you still have to go through a lot of obstacles for you?
I mean, it's like you said, waking up and realizing and going out and actually actively seeking for help. That is
like
a sign that you are, that you're ready. But it's not an easy road by any means.
Yes, of course, of course.
There's some days when you think like, oh my God, like why did I even bother doing this? I'm getting nowhere. But it's nothing is as bad from that day forward, because you've gone and you've done it. You've made the change. You're not going to get worse. Like if you're seeking the help, you're not going to be as bad as you were when you weren't, looking for help. You weren't actively making that change. You're going to have bad days, but it's not going to be as bad as just sitting there and not doing anything about it.
Do you have like, because I don't know if this was your case, but for me it was like, you have that initial boost of like motivation, but then some days you sort of that motivation sort of like poof disappear and you're stuck in a rut. Like in your journey, how did you deal with that sort of like there's high and there's low, right? How do you deal with the low after you have tried to make changes? Like how do you ride through the that period where you have like low motivation?
Well, it's what I try to do is like acknowledge the fact that I'm allowed to feel like this, and there's going to be days where, like I said, I feel like I can't do it, but I feel okay. like it is okay, and I feel like you can't completely write off like moving forward just because you've had one bad day. It's not going to be bad, and it is so easy to slip back into that mindset of, oh well, it's gone bad today, so forget it, I'm just gonna go back. But what sort of got me through that was I looked around me and I tried to like make a list of things that I was able to do now that I had like reached out for help. So it was, I was able to dance again, I was able to see my friends again, because before I had no energy to go out. My family life, like at home, it was it wasn't 100% back to normal, because there is everyone's aware now that I have an eating disorder, so
there's like a certain tension towards it.
But my mum was a lot happier. She wasn't absolutely distraught like she used to be. So even if it's just one thing to focus on, maybe it might be like I say, you were used to staying in bed all day because you had no energy, but now you can get up at say lunchtime. That's one thing, and you've got to focus on that one thing, because it's one thing more than what you had before getting help.
Yeah, like you actually perfectly like you actually said what I was gonna say, because just a few days ago I saw this YouTube video talking about like stuff you can do to like help with like depression or like
Mhm.
these like ruts. Is that the concept was basically having a lot of stuffs on your plate. So
Mhm.
like you said, if you're if you sort of document a lot of the things that happen throughout the day, because you see, you can't have an entire day of bad things, right? That's highly
Oh no,
unlikely.
no, yeah.
Yeah, you sort of do, you have some like moments where, let's say, oh, you got out of bed, or you had nice lunch, or you had like you watched a nice movie, like you really like this episode of Game of Thrones, which is highly unlikely, I'm sorry. But
I agree. I agree.
Hey,
hey,
I was listening. I
what
was listening the
square
whole
out,
time, but
square out.
I gotta jump in, man. I gotta jump in. So the fourth season is total smoke show, but continue.
But
No,
yeah,
the whole thing is
anyways, I
amazing.
was saying, like, if you try and put more things on your plate, even
Mhm.
if one thing on your plate goes sour, let's say you had zero motivation, you felt really really sad that day, at least you can look at the other stuff that you sort of did today, and you end up feeling happy about it. Like, I was
Yeah.
going to ask how do you feel about this, but you actually just answered it perfectly by like you saying like, oh, there's things, for example, with your friends, stuff like that. I think you just perfectly said what I was going to say. Yeah, that's pretty good. But
That's
yeah, so I think we've gone through actually quite a lot of mileage on this episode, because
Mhm.
we've me and Ryan actually talked about stuff before, but it was much more on like general, like, feeling sad and stuff. And I really want to thank you today, because now I know a lot more about eating disorders, stuff like
yeah,
that. And
more
especially I think,
insight.
yeah, one of the more interesting insights that I learned today is about, like, I never knew that I always thought that anorexia was prevalent through the model industry, because everyone
Mhm.
had to look really thin. I never actually thought about that was the same case for like ballerinas, because
Mhm.
now that I think of it, it's quite evident, because everyone's
Yeah,
sort of like this. You have to look the same body
Mhm.
type, right? But yeah,
exactly.
so once again, thank you very much for
Thank you.
the wonderful
Yeah, thank you
information
for
and
having
the
me.
valuable experience that you shared with us. I really enjoyed the section today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's such an honor to have you on the podcast with us
Mm.
today. Being the
Thank
first guest ever.
First guest, female. Let's
First
go.
guest female. Everything. It's such an honor to have you here.
Everything.
So yeah, make sure to
Yeah.
go follow Gentleman's Discourse on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube. Gentleman Pursuits on Instagram and on YouTube.
Everything.
Everything. And Mia, would you want to plug anything? Follow anything?
this is probably no,
No.
no.
Okay.
There
Yeah,
is
it's cool.
nothing.
It's cool. It's cool.
That's
You
cool.
don't.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
It's cool.
Hey, shout out mental health. All right. Shout out
Shout
mental
out.
health.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Shout out
yeah,
mental health.
How about
Shout,
that? Shout out mental health.
hey, yo, shout out mental health. Shout out staying hydrated. Shout out staying healthy.
Yeah.
And thank you once again for coming onto the podcast with us today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you
And
for having me.
we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.